on the Big Diamond, it was a Babe Ruth game, and they only had 2 outfielders because they didn't have a full team. You know what I mean? And I was like, because people were making the jump to lacrosse.
Yep.
Or now a lot of times even, maybe there's a junior high team or something, so you basically town Babe Ruth baseball is dying. At least where I'm from, and we're from a pretty big baseball area, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's interesting,
It's interesting too, like in Chicago we have the Cubs, you got the Red Sox, both, high caliber teams that like should be like putting a lot of kids in baseball uniforms.
Yeah.
But it's kind of dying. I think it is that like lack of immediate gratification.
And if kids don't play the game when they're little, you can't not play the game as a kid and appreciate it as an adult,
right?
Because you need to know the intricacies of the game to appreciate it. You can't, so youth baseball to me is the key to the future of MLB. So how do you keep kids playing youth baseball?
You mentioned, for sake of argument a minute ago, and like how we're talking here, so the good place for baseball arguments and all those is a sports bar.
Yeah.
And you are a proprietor of
the very first ever sports bar, baseball bar. Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about McGreevy's?
So McGreevy's Third Base Saloon. It was the original sports bar. It was the original baseball bar. Guy by the name of Nuff Said McGreevy, and he got his nickname because people didn't have Google back then, so you started arguing over stats or whatever. Guys would argue over it, and McGreevy was the Google. He knew, and when you couldn't settle an argument, he went to McGreevy behind the bar, and he said who was right or wrong, and he had this big mallet, and he'd say Nuff Said, and he'd smash like a judge. He'd smash it down. And debate was over, and it was really, as much as they supported, the early incarnations of Boston baseball, before it was the Red Sox, then the Red Sox, and then when they traded Ruth, they actually became Braves supporters. But McGreevy had every team, the picture of every team in his bar. Even in the current McGreevy's, which is a replica of the original, there's a Yankees picture. We turn it upside down, but it's in there because he was a baseball fan. I mean, the Boston teams were their team, but so anyway, it closed at Prohibition, and then also with the Ruth trade right before, they kind of went away from the Red Sox to the Braves, and then the bar closed at Prohibition and never reopened. And when we got involved with the Red Sox in 2004. And there was all that talk of, haven't won in 86 years since the Red Sox, since the Royal Rooters stopped rooting and they traded Ruth, and when all that history came to life, we thought it would be cool. I had a baseball historian, collector guy, Pete Nash, friend of mine, who had a kind of a pop-up McGreevy's replica set up in Cooperstown, not in the, just in the town, but it wasn't a functional bar. It was just the display. I said, wouldn't that be much better in Boston with working taps and food, and that's how the idea came about, and it's been great. It's been awesome. It's nice to walk into a sports bar and it's all black and white photos, not neon Budweiser signs, and yeah, it's just a throwback spot. People love the history, and very proud of it. Very proud of getting it off the ground, and and there was some serious cast of characters that hung around in there in that era. That it's crazy. The bookie who hung in the bar and with that whole crowd was actually the same guy who concocted the whole Black Sox scandal in 1919, I believe.
Yeah.
The pitcher who was involved played for the Red Sox the year before. And the bookie, I forget his name, he at the Buckminster Hotel, which is still there right near Fenway, they concocted the plan, which would have been potentially with the Red Sox if they had gone to the series and he was still with them. He got traded, and they concocted the plan to fix the World Series. Actually, in that show, Boardwalk Empire, they talk about it, and they actually say the guy's real name. Yeah. The Boardwalk Empire was very authentic on the history, John L. Sullivan, the bare knuckle boxing champ, was a regular at McGreevy's and hung around with that crowd, the Royal Rooters. Honey Fitz, who was the mayor of Boston and JFK's grandfather, So the Kennedy family has donated a lot of artifacts for us to hang in the bar. We had JFK's christening ring at one point. We had the flag that flew on the Kennedy yacht the day JFK was assassinated. Just like different family members would come through, and they don't want to give the stuff away, but they love the fact that it can come out of their attic